Track 6 is called Save Your Breath. I really like this song, actually, lyrically and, instrumentally. It's talking a lot about, the main message of the song is cheating and secrets, lying, he starts by saying, save your breath. There's nothing left to say. I've wasted all this time on you. He's like, we all make mistakes, and if you didn't notice, I'm taking this for all it's worth. If it's a game and these are the stakes, I know I got the best shot for taking you out of the race. Again, going with that I'm gonna kill you type of a theme that he's kind of been talking about with other songs. I really love the chorus when he says, and every time I think of him, it makes me sick, and I don't want to know just what happened then. In the van right in front of my house, that's where you sold me out. You didn't have a clue. I don't know, what the exact story is behind the lyrics of the song, but with what he's saying, it kind of, the way that I interpret it is that he says, every time I think of him, it makes me sick. I kind of think of maybe it was a band member or a friend or somebody close to him. Or, it could just be just a person in general, but he says he doesn't want to know what happened in the van right in front of his house. And that's where she sold him out, and she didn't even know that he watched it happen. That's the storyline of the song, and what I kind of take it as is maybe it was like a band member or something, or a friend, and she made out with him or whatever in a van right in front of his house. And I also really like when he says, every time you go to sleep at night, I wonder what you hide behind closed eyes. What else could you be keeping from me? He can't trust this girl anymore. He once, maybe loved her, was in this relationship, and she cheated on him, and now he's, questioning everything. And I just love the way that he presents those lyrics. And in the last chorus, he has a little acoustic sesh at 2:03 that just kind of, mellows out for, a few seconds with this acoustic guitar. But then it picks up again into the big chorus, and it's it's really good. I like the way that they did that. I don't know, why. It's kind of in a interesting spot, and it doesn't happen for very long, but yeah, just little things like that. I like when bands just put little elements into their music that is just changes things up a little bit, so it's not all the same, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, but just putting little things in it that kind of spice it up, make things different. Yeah, I like the concept of the song, and also the way the title, Save Your Breath, he's just flat out, don't lie, don't try to explain anything, I don't want to hear it, he's just letting go, moving on, save your breath, I saw what you did, you cheated on me, don't even pretend that you didn't, which actually, those lyrics flow really well into, kind of perfectly into the next track, which is called Sincerely Yours. He says, wake up and let go of these feelings I've had for you. It's easier said than done. So give up and let go of these feelings I've had for you. Why couldn't you be the one? I love that they put that song and this song directly next to each other, because it's just, lyrically, it makes so much sense. There's no other order of song, or there's no other order that they could have put this in to make it sound like that. I love that he goes from, save your breath, girl, I watched you cheat, blah, blah, blah. Now, next day, wake up and let go of all these feelings I had for you, because I saw what you did, and I'm not holding on to you anymore. We're done. Also, he says, because it's a guilty pleasure deciding whether you were ever mine or not, but the truth's apparent that you weren't ever mine to start. I really like that line. Him kind of contemplating, okay, was she ever, if she went off and did this, was she ever even mine? How long was she doing this for? Did I ever have her completely in a way that where she didn't have anyone else, And then he says, so don't close your eyes. Then he goes on in this cutesy little chorus that he says, what will it take to make you understand that I'm not lying when I say I need you? Yeah, he's just trying to figure out, he knows he needs to let go, but there's still this love that he has, and he's still, or he at least still wants something from this girl, he still wants to be in this relationship, and he says he needs her. But there's also this, but I know, I gotta, I can't be in this right now, I can't be with somebody who doesn't want me, I guess, The bridge, also, I really like the way he says this. He says, now this broken shell of a boy falls to pieces with no choice. At the sound of her voice, he falls apart. I really like that. This contemplating energy of, I am falling apart, and the sound of your voice is just crushing me. I still want you, and I still would like to have these things from you, but I just can't like you're breaking my heart type of a thing. He says, why couldn't you be the one? And I really like that it's titled Sincerely Yours. He doesn't say that at all in the song, but that's really cute that he's like, and it's interesting that he calls it that, because he does say, deciding whether you were ever mine or not, but saying sincerely yours. I mean, sincerely yours is also just, you know, like a cute way to end a letter or whatever, like sincerely yours truly. But that's an interesting connection between, you know, was he ever really hers? It's interesting. That's cute. I like that. Anyway, the next track 8, is called 100 Times. This song starts out kind of mellow and kind of beautiful, actually. And then it, like, goes into the chorus and, you know, picks up a little bit. But there's some lyrical elements that I really love. He says, the look on your face gives all your secrets away. And I like that line kind of ties back with lyrics from the second track saying, you're so obvious, predictable. And also track 3 when he says, by the way that your eyes travel to the floor when you tell a lie. I like that he keeps writing about all these elements, about how this girl is just really, she can't keep a secret. She doesn't have a poker face. He says, the look on your face gives all your secrets away. You're so obvious. By the way that your eyes travel to the floor when you tell a lie. Like, I can tell what you're thinking. And, you know, she can't even hide it. And just the lyrical symmetry here between all these songs is just awesome. And I love the connections and the theme. I love when albums have just like an overall theme or just an overall, or just a motif, you know, of recurring elements like these lyrics, because they are, you know, albums are like these bodies of work of things, all these little things combined into one unit, you know. They should tie together and they should be connecting similar elements, and this album lyrically does that really, really well, in my opinion. All the things that he's talking about just ties together, and I think that's what makes this album so good, is because lyrically it's all the same. And not all the same in like a droning, like, okay, we get it type of way, but like in a very poetic, very cohesive type of way. Like it's in a good way that all these elements are being repeated, and it just makes it that much more special, I think. And you can tell that this album is, or that these songs belong together, you know? They're not just separate things. They're all, like, yes, they're each their own song, but combined, it creates something much bigger and much better. And that's what I think that's what a record should be. It should be something that you can have all these individual songs, but if they don't tie together in some way, then why is it in an album? You know, why is it compiled together if there's nothing holding it together, you know? And these lyrics are holding each other together. Like, they're very similar. They talk about the same things, and I really enjoy that. And I can tell, like, I can see that in this album. And I like that it is obvious. Or at least it's obvious to me, but track 9 is called It's All the Rage. And I really love the vibe of this song. The energy is good, and like the instruments are really cool. It's just a cool sounding song. I really love the way this song starts. It begins with just vocals, basically. And I think one single guitar strum, it goes grrr, and everything just kind of like rings out. But it begins with, he says, we are exactly what you want to be. But he says it like really high and like in the same sort of pitched, and it kind of sounds like a siren. In fact, my brother, I was listening to this song once because it was in my head, or I think I was just like singing it out loud, and he was like, what are you saying? And yeah, I showed him the song. He was like, I thought you were imitating a siren or something, because it like just sounds funny. He goes, we are exactly, and it just the way that it sounds, it kind of sounds like that. But I love it. Like, it's just so catchy, and because he could have just said, we are exactly, like, he didn't have to say it that many times, you know what I mean? But I really love that stylistic choice that he chose to do that. He also he does it kind of later when he says, you are. I don't know, I just like that repetition. The lyrics of this song, there are some really cool lines. He says, you're dying for anything brand new, hate feeling cheap, but you love being used. You want out, but you take the abuse because it's all you know. That's so poetic. You're dying for anything brand new. He has this brand new. Hate feeling cheap, but you love being used. Just like the juxtaposition between those. I don't really have anything other to say with that, other than I really like it. I like when people use words like that in meaningful ways. You know, they take the words and they make it mean something more than it is. And yeah, I don't know. I really liked the vibe of this song. I love at the end when the lyrics finish. He finishes by saying, well, he's been saying throughout the whole song, he says, "We are exactly what you want to be. Where you've been and what you've done mean nothing." But I love at the end, he says, "Where you've been and what you've done mean nothing to me." At the end, he adds that "to me." Because the whole song, he hasn't added that end. And it just takes that sentence, it takes it from a very general perspective to very personal. Not only that where you've been and what you've done mean nothing, just in general to anybody, but to him. Like, he doesn't care, you know? And it just brings it to a new level and almost a new interpretation. And I can't really explain it at the moment. My head's not really, I can't describe what I'm trying to say, but I really like when artists do that and they change the lyrics. Well, he didn't change it. He just added something to it and it made it more deep. And that's what I love about it. The next track 10, is called Speakers Blown. I listened to this song in middle school. This was the only song I had by Hit the Lights. I really I don't know what a radio with the speakers blown sounds like, but there's a part at 2 minutes 43 seconds. There's these really intense guitars. There that he kind of not palm mutes, but sort of. There's this certain the way they strum the notes and then the feedback that's associated with it. After he says, I think he says, it sounds like a radio with the speakers blown. But there's these guitars that are playing in the background. I feel like they tried to emulate kind of what that would sound like, maybe, or just that's kind of the way that I took it with those guitars wailing in the background. But I really like that concept, I guess, of you sound like a radio with the speakers blown. I mean, again, I don't know exactly what that means or what that sounds like, but it's a cool way of describing something without actually describing it. In the verses, he says, "Tonight I'm drowning in my favorite records." And then he says, "They play the soundtrack to my falling tears, the soundtrack to this wasted year, and the sleeves hide scars better than I could ever do." I love the way this guy writes. He takes such literal things, but mixes it with the abstract things, and that's what poetry is. That's the best poetry. And I think I said that before, but he writes really well, and I really love the way that he writes, even though if I can't dissect it or decipher it in the best way, it just, you recognize that in his lyrics, and it's very, very awesome. We'll move on to track 11. It's called Until We Get Caught. Instrumentally, musically, sonically, this song just feels a little bit more to me. It just kind of feels different than the rest of the songs on the record, and not in a bad way, but just in a different way. It sounds like this song is not necessarily the outcast of the album, because again, it's not bad. It just sounds different than the rest of the album. The rest of the songs have a specific sound, and this one just sounds a little more, it's moodier at times. It just has a darker sounding vibe to it, which I really like. At 1 minute and 3 seconds, he does something really cool. It's just the way that he spits out his words. So I don't know if it's the pre-chorus or he says, "We could have had it all, our backs against the wall, our eyes blindfolded tight, living what they call life." The power that he puts on the notes, it's not the power, it's the way that when he says, "We could have had all, our backs against the wall, our eyes," he specifically says it like that. He puts more emphasis, that's the word, on those first two words. I love when people do that. It's just really melodically pleasing. I don't know how to describe it, but because again, he could have just said, "We could have had it all, our back." I can't even do it without doing it, but it gives more emphasis, more strength, I don't know, to the verse. 1 minute 51, there's these cool breaths. Somebody's kind of breathing in the background underneath this riff. That was really awful. Sounded really bad. But he, breaths going on, syncopated with the guitar riff. that was a cool element. Like, who thought to put that in? That's way cool. I don't know if that, like, means anything with the... Well, I mean, the song's called Until We Get Caught. The next song's called Make a Run for It. Kind of sounds like you're running. I don't know. That's irrelevant. Anyway, I don't know if I really have much else to say with this one, so we'll move on to track 12. Last track, technically. Technically not. Track 12 is called Make a Run for It. The runtime of this song is 12 minutes and 25 seconds, but also not. It only runs for about just over 4 minutes. This song kind of relates to Body Bag in a way, just in the sense of committing a crime and getting away with it. He begins by saying, you can find us by the trail of our insides. They were left at the scene of the crime. We've tampered with evidence. Fingerprints were left behind. And then he's like, we need to get our story straight. Our cover's blown. Let's make a run for it. But he's like, we've got this down to a science. Don't be afraid. Be very afraid. That's awesome. I love that lyric. We don't make mistakes we don't intend to make. Complex, calculated, overlooked, and underrated. We've got this down. And then he says, we'll lure you in, set you up to take our fall, and now it's over. All of those words, all those phrases, I really like the concept lyrically of this song. And the gang vocals at 250 something. I loved that they included the gang vocals specifically in that part. Because it's when they're saying, we've got this down to a science. Don't be afraid, be very afraid. And they kind of repeat that over and over again till the fade out. Which I love the fade out, by the way. I wish more bands did more fade outs on songs because, I don't know, I'm a lover of the fade out. Especially as the last track on the album. Maybe that's cliche and overdone, but I don't know. I really like it. No, but the gang vocals, I like that they included... I feel like they've done that a few times on this record, which I love. I love a good gang vocal, but when he does it, the lyrics that they're saying are, we've got this down to a science. Don't be afraid, be very afraid. And having that said with more people just sounds way more intimidating and way more scary, which is intentional, obviously, with what they're saying. And I think that was just a very smart placement of that vocal use, especially that they're all guys. I think that's should be said as well. They're not female, and it just sounds, for this song, yeah, sounds really awesome. This track, Make a Run for It, has a hidden track, which is called Her Eyes Say Yes, But the Restraining Order Says No, and it starts at 8 minutes and 42 seconds of the song Make a Run for It, the 12-minute song, right? This is just a solely acoustic track. And it's my favorite song on the record. Yeah. And I don't know why they made it hidden in the song. I don't know the point of that. The starting line did that as well once. And that track is also awesome. Like, it's like one of, like, the fact, maybe it's because it's hidden. It's like the best one because nobody knows about it. And it's like, I don't know, but I love it. I love it so much. Again, it's totally acoustic, but the lyrics are so incredibly dark, but also so deep and poetic. And I almost want to just read the lyrics because, I'm just going to do that. You don't know how much I adore this damp rag soaked in chloroform. It makes me so hard to ignore, 'cause I could never keep your attention. I'm not one to make threats. I've been reduced to promises. I lie to myself because I do it best. I'm not honest with my intentions. So when the blindfold starts to slip and the rope starts to rip, and I slowly give in, girl, you know I'm sorry. But tonight, I'll wait until I know you're fast asleep to poison you with memories of you and me. I pray you die slowly so I can be the last thing you see. Wow. In a way, it's almost darker than Body Bag. I mean, Body Bag is explicitly, he's straight up with his intentions, and it's explicitly, like, talking about killing someone, or at least beating them up really bad. And this one is more so... Like near the end, he says, she's losing consciousness, I'm gaining confidence. Like, that's psychopathic behavior right there. Like, that's so, wow. I'll wait until I know you're fast asleep to poison you. But he doesn't just say poison you. The fact that he says poison you with memories of you and me. Like, as if the relationship, it's so poetically deep because of that aspect of not, it's not quite literally, he's not, I mean, yes, he does talk in the beginning about using chloroform, but he also brings this element of, I'm going to poison you with memories of our relationship. And then he says, I pray you die slowly so I can be the last thing you see. Oh, that's so, like, you can almost see that, you know? You can see there's that imagery in your head. You can literally you can see that happening. He also says, "Now if I can't have you, no one can. I'll be the last boy you hang up on." That's an interesting tie to the first track, when he uses the telephone and then hangs up at the very end. But that was him talking to her, so that's interesting. Yeah. There's a lot to unpack, and I don't know if I'm not doing it justice at all, but I really love this song, and I love this guy's voice. I love the way this guy writes his words. He's very poetic in his lines, and overall, this is a solid album. I really like it. It's not one that I go back to often because I kind of forget about it, because there's so much music that I listen to, but this song as an album from the early 2000s, I really do like. If I were to rate this one, that's hard. I think I would definitely give it just off of the lyrics and the vocals alone, because I know I didn't talk much about the instrumentation, because that's just not what I focused on. That's not what I heard or felt like I wanted to talk about, but I really, based on lyrical content and the way that it was sung, I think this album gets at least like an 8.8. Maybe a 9. I don't know. I really loved it. And I loved, again, I've said this a few times, his ability and his use of combining the concrete with the abstract. And he writes incredibly well, and I really love this album for that. I'm curious now, having kind of dissected this album a little bit, to go back into other Hit the Lights albums and see if he does that in other ones. But yeah, I really enjoyed this album. That's all I got to say. So we'll catch you next time.